Hey guys, it's Carly, and today I want to share with you 3 of my favorite ways to use stencils. Now first up is ink blending. Ink blending and stencils go together like peanut butter and jelly. They are such a perfect pair. Okay, so let's talk tools for stenciling. Now the first thing you need is super basic. You need a way to hold your stencil down to your cardstock, right? Now there's multiple options, but I tend to always favor the basic tape. A washi tape or a low tack tape like this pixie tape. I like to put it on the corners. I like to tape it to my nonstick craft mat and then go for it. Now as far as blending tools go, there's foam tools, there are brushes. I like them all. I have them all. If I'm doing a really intricate, delicate stencil, I'm probably going to choose a brush over a foam tool just because I think sometimes the foam can snag on a really intricate stencil. But for example, this is the MFT Radiating Rays, which isn't too intricate. And I found that both the foam and the brush work great. The brushes gave me a slightly more crisp design, maybe a little sharper, but that could just be also the amount of ink that I applied and kind of made it more saturated myself. Who knows? I'll have to test that and get back to you. And then I would say a note about cardstock and inks in general for ink blending is that cardstock matters, ink matters. If you're not getting good results, you might try changing one of those. I find if I'm using dye inks to ink blend, then I really prefer a smooth watercolor cardstock like Bristol. If I'm using a pigment or a hybrid ink like Distress Oxide, then I have great results with almost any cardstock. Here I'm using Solar White because it's just my favorite. My favorite color, my favorite cardstock. There you go. And then I just wanted to quickly show you how I made these stenciled panels into cards. So I trimmed this first panel in half and I mounted it to the top of an A2 card. Then I trimmed off the excess on the side and then I put another piece of white on top and I foam mounted it over to give it a little dimension and then just added that little circle with the embossed sentiment and some star sequins. Now this one I wanted to use kind of the whole image, but it doesn't quite fit on an A2 card. It's a little short. So I trimmed it down to be a 4-bar card and there you go. Now another way I like to use my stencils is to kind of mask them so I can selectively ink. And this is already a layered set from Pretty Pink Posh. It's got the wrapper layer, the frosting layer, and the sprinkles layer. But I'm going to make it even a little more versatile by just using my tape again, my beloved low tack tape, to mask off just one row of cupcakes and ink that. Now after I finish the cupcake wrapper layer, I've changed out my stencil and I've got the frosting layer and I'm doing it in pink and purple for kind of a unicorn cupcake feel. And then once I finish that layer, I'm going to change stencils again. So this top layer has the wrapper design and the sprinkles in the same layer, but I don't want them to be the same color. So I'm doing a little more masking. I'm adding more of that pixie tape. So I've masked off where the sprinkles are so that this ink will only go on the wrapper. Once I've got the wrapper design, I can change where my masking tape is and mask off the wrappers and just do the sprinkles. Now after I add the pink in the sprinkle layer and get those sprinkles inked up, I actually decided I wanted to add a little bit more of a textural element. So I grabbed my Glossy Accents. I didn't change the stencil. It's the same configuration it was, so just the sprinkles are there. Putting a little bit of Glossy Accents onto my stencil and then I'm using a squeegee to spread it through the stencil. So not only will the sprinkle layer be the darker pink, but it'll have a little bit of gloss to it. Now when you're using a medium like Glossy Accents, if you want your stencils to stay clean, make sure that you clean it off your stencil right away. So I just use a baby wipe, but I live in Seattle, so it's pretty wet here. If you live in a drier climate, you might even want to have like a little bin of soapy water. Okay, so after that glossy layer has dried, I want to finish this clean and simple card with just a stamped sentiment. But I worked so hard on those cupcakes, I don't want to mess it up with a crooked sentiment or anything like that. So I'm going to show you this trick that I show all the time because I think it's the best thing I ever started doing. I am going to put it in my MISTI with a piece of acetate on top. Then I'm going to ink up the stamp that I've got in there, stamp it down onto the acetate, and that way I can see, is it straight? Is it in the right place? Do I like how it looks? Do I need to adjust anything? If I'm happy with how it is, I can just clean off that acetate, put it behind my MISTI mat, save it for the next time I need to check something. If I don't like where the stamp is, I can clean the stamp and readjust. This time I liked it, so so I ink and stamp and I call that card good. It's really simple, but I love how it came out. Okay guys, so the last thing I like to use as stencils is Glimmer Paste because I love glitter. I love it so much. Often when I'm using Glimmer Paste, I create a DIY stencil. So I just take a piece of acetate and whatever die cut I want, I run it through my machine and I've got a homemade stencil. So this time you can see I've got the acetate cut down to the same size as my card panel. I used just a circle die, so now I've got this DIY circle stencil and I'm going to ink blend with it. Now once I finish with ink blending, it's time to add the Glimmer Paste. So I love this Moonstone color because it looks good over every color of ink. And I love applying it with just like an offset palette knife. It just makes it really easy. I want to smooth it out, but I don't want to go over it too many times because the ink I used is water reactive and Glimmer Paste is water based. So it will start to pick up that color and kind of change it. And I don't want to smear my ink blending too much. And I also don't want to have any extra that I put back in my jar that's already colored. Now I want to remove my stencil while the Glimmer Paste is still wet, and then I can clean my stencil. Or in this case, maybe not. It's just a homemade stencil. I could always just pitch it in the garbage. But then also, while the Glimmer Paste is wet, if I have any extra on my project anywhere I don't want it, I can just wipe it off. Okay, again, I just want to quickly show you how I turn this into a card. So my Glimmer Paste is dry now, and I've got this die cut that I'm going to add to the middle. So I've die cut Hey 3 times. It's from the Essentials by Ellen Mondo Hello set. I've got 2 that I die cut from white cardstock and 1 from black, and I'm just using a glue pen to stack them together. So now I'm going to add a little bit of gloss to that word. So I've got an acrylic block that I'm adding a loop of that low-tack tape to. I'm going to put my stacked die cut word onto that tape and then add glossy accents. Now I love this method for adding glossy accents to any die cut because I can take that acrylic block and set it somewhere where it won't get messed up, so far away from me while I finish crafting. And also if I mess up my die cut, like if there's air bubbles or if I accidentally do put a finger in it anyway, even though I set it somewhere safe, it wasn't safe enough, like I haven't ruined my whole card, I can just make another one. So that's why I don't wait until it's on my card to add the glossy accents. Okay guys, so those are my 3 favorite ways to use stencils in my card making. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you were inspired to craft. And if you haven't subscribed to the Ellen Hudson YouTube channel, definitely hit that button. There's some great stuff on this channel, guys. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day.